Hello, everyone. So happy Monday and welcome to today's podcast. Today, joining me is Gershom, and Jason is calling in remotely from the comfort of his home today. Oops, I'm sorry. I should have silenced my phone. And as always, we also have James on the line. And today, there's just a lot of exciting things that are going on, in our news cycle and in our markets today. But one of the things that like I wanted to bring to everybody's attention is Robert Kiyosaki. Okay, is that you, Jason?
No, that was my. Come here, Jolie. Want to say hi to everybody here on the camera? Say hi,
Hi.
right? Well, we're
Hi.
practicing social distancing, so Jolie is actually one of our youngest Bitcoin miner, probably. So
Okay,
she's mining Bitcoin
nice.
with
Okay,
VBit.
awesome.
Yep.
All right. Tell Jolie I said hi.
Uncle Don says hi, Jolie. She can't hear you because I have my noise canceling headsets on. So
Okay.
you're right, Don. I am doing this podcast at home. The background is actually a picture that we took when Don, Jin, and myself and Nixon when we went out to Arizona for a Arizona launch about a month ago, actually,
Mm,
right before that craziness started.
yeah, at least we got in a little bit of hiking and a little bit of nature loving right before this whole lockdown happened. But
Yes,
yeah,
for
so I
sure.
just wanted to bring everybody's attention back to Robert Kiyosaki's tweet over the weekend. And I just found this tweet really interesting because most people know who Robert Kiyosaki is already. He's the author of the best selling book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, for those of you guys who aren't familiar with who he is. But basically, his tweet is basically telling us to do exactly what I have been preaching to you guys for the last few weeks, right? I have been telling you guys that with the government printing out over $2 trillion worth of new currency to basically help alleviate the effects of the coronavirus,
But yeah, so
it's
I
going to have a negative impact on the US dollar. And he's basically telling everybody to go out there and buy gold, buy like almost everybody's getting some stimulus money. It's not really free money that you guys are getting here. So he's telling everyone to go out there, buy some gold, buy some silver, and most importantly, buy some Bitcoin because that's a great hedge against inflation, against the U.S. dollar. And I just wanted to point out, like why he chose those three items to tell you to spend your stimulus money on, right? Because those three items have something in common: scarcity. It's basically, a fixed supply that it doesn't give the government or anybody the ability to just produce more or print more money, which is essentially what the U.S. government is doing. Um, and essentially, like with the U.S. government printing out over $2 trillion worth of new money to save the economy, they're making the U.S. They're turning the U.S. dollar into like no different than monopoly money, print at your own will kind of thing, right, Gershom?
You're 100% correct, and that's what I've been screaming. Even before this thing happened with the coronavirus, and like I said before, the coronavirus was just the thing to pop this bubble, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, there's no way that a government can print this much money and it not have an effect on the overall value of the currency. There's just no way, right? And
Well,
I don't think that we are immune from the laws of economics. I mean, I know that we're a very powerful and strong country, and we're very successful in a lot of things, but I don't think that we are exempt from the what economics will do. Everything have it's like you do A and B will happen type situation.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about supply and demand, right?
Absolutely. And one more thing I want to add to that, Robert Kiyosaki is someone that, he's not a fluff guy. He's not a guy that walk around talking fluff. He's a very successful guy. He's a multi-billionaire. You know, everyone knows who he is. So
I
he's the
mean,
kind of
he's
guy.
followed by millions of people.
Absolutely. So when a guy like that talks, guess what? I listen.
Hmm.
You know, those are the kind of people that you want to listen to. And if this guy is telling you, hey, get yourself into Bitcoin, get yourself into gold, get some silver, there's a reason. And you cannot ignore advice like that from someone like that.
Yep, totally agree, Gershom. You know, they always say that if you want to become successful, right, find somebody who is already successful and copy exactly what they do. Right, that's the easiest blueprint of becoming success. Right, why we invent the wheel when it's already out there. Right, so you know, like you, I completely agree with you. When Robert Kiyosaki talks, you know, I listen. Right, I remember reading his book first year when I was in college. You know, I'm the type of guy that hates when it comes to reading books. But I happened to finish, you know, reading his book just, you know, overnight because it was that interesting to me at the time. So I've been following him for a long, long time. Even though I look really, really young, right? I'm 25 plus. But whenever I know I'm gonna make you guys laugh, you know. So you know, even though you know, I first year of college. I mean, that's the first time that I picked up a copy of his book and I read it overnight and I've been following you know since ever since. So
You know, one of the things that I realized is usually young people, they always want to project a older, a more mature image of themselves,
Mhm.
and then you know once you get older, you want to
It's the
become
exact
younger.
opposite, right? Isn't that crazy? Yeah, interesting thing. But
there's
yeah,
also exceptions. There's always exceptions to rules. All right. So and I
Okay.
am that exception.
you are. Sure, you are, Mr. Wong.
But yeah, like if you can, you know, like read the tweet, guys. It's up on the screen right now. He's encouraging us to buy into these items because it does have scarcity. It has protection against people just at will replicating or printing out more money, and it is a really, you know, like good. Asset to have inside of your portfolio for future security.
Yes, I 100% believe that, and I've been someone who's been advocating for real money,
Mm.
as opposed to fake money. Well, that's what fiat money is. Certainly, it can get you things today, but you have to understand that the value of the dollars that we use today, every single day, they're losing more and more of its value. So at some point, it's going to lose all of its value.
Yeah, I mean, like at this point, right, in the short term, the government is talking about sending most of Americans, most taxpayers, $1,200, right? Free, no strings attached. But then you have to really ask yourself, is it really free money? What is the price of free here?
Yeah, and first of all, let's be honest, that's peanuts. I mean, like if you've been out of work for, let's just say, a month or 2 months, what can $1,200 really do for your situation, right? So
I mean, I disagree that it's peanuts here, Gershom. You know, $1,200 is a large amount of money for a lot of people. If you consider the average American household, the average wage is anywhere between $40,000 to $50,000 a year. So and most American families actually don't have enough savings to sustain themselves past, you know, like a $400, $500 emergency bill. So 1,200 is not, you know, like peanuts in today's terms, but the price that you're paying for it over the long run down the line, it is definitely not free. So they're gonna, you know, like they're giving you 1,200 today, but don't mistake it as free money. It's not a free lunch. It's basically just a loan that you're gonna end up paying, you know, 2-3 times for down the line. Because one day when, you know, the national debt gets out of hand, eventually they're gonna have to hike taxes, right? Either hike taxes or continue to print out more money. But when they print out more money, they're gonna further devalue the currency. So eventually they can't they won't have that option to like print additional money, and they'll have to hike taxes, and that at that point that's when we're going to be paying back.
Also,
But
Don,
yeah,
another way of looking at it is, how we all have to pay for it is, if a dollar today is going to be worth, let's say, just 50 cents a couple of years from now because of all these flood of stimulus money, we are all paying for it because now, a couple of years from now, let's say 2 years from now, 3 years from now, right? Where we used to, let's say we go out there, we work for an hour, we get $1. Right now, we go out there, we still work for an hour, but we only get 50 cents worth now. The same dollar, right, where we're trading our hours for dollars, it's only worth 50 cents. So we're all paying for it. Either we work double the amount of hours to make up the difference, right? Or we become incredibly, lucky when it comes to, our other investments or ventures or. So we're all paying for it in the long term, guys, for sure.
Yeah, so one way or another, we can't dodge the payment for all of this money that's being sent to us. So essentially, it's not free money. So don't mistake it as free money. It's basically just a loan that we're all going to have to repay back over time.
there's no such thing as free money.
But then, it boils down to now that you know that it's just a loan that you're going to be repaying back over time. What do you do with it? How do you utilize it so that it best position yourself for down the line when you're starting to repay back on this loan that the government is giving us? And with that, I know Gershom ran across a video that he found very interesting. So James, can we just play the quick video?
Yeah, go ahead.
This.
I am seeing investors I never saw before, hedge fund investors, high net worth investors, getting into Bitcoin for the first time.
So,
I said this in a tweet, this is the year for Bitcoin, and if it doesn't go up a lot by the end of the year.
A multi-billionaire hedge fund guy. He runs a hedge fund. He's also a big tech investment guy. His name is Mike Novogratz. And so he did an interview a couple of days ago and made some predictions. And he predicted that he can see the price of Bitcoin doubling in the next 6 months. But more importantly, what he also said in the interview is that a lot of his hedge fund guys, like partners and people that he knows who are high net worth people, are now calling him and say, hey, how do I get involved with Bitcoin, right? So the whole thing is a lot of people now who have a lot of money, high net worth people, are now looking to get involved in Bitcoin. And that only means one thing. When these high net worth people start getting involved, these multi-millionaires people, that just means that the price of Bitcoin is going to go up. So I think it was an interesting interview, but just this short clip will give you an idea what his thought process is.
Saying this.
I am seeing investors I never saw before, hedge fund investors, high net worth investors, getting into Bitcoin for the first time. And so
while James
I said this in a tweet, this is the year for Bitcoin, and if it doesn't go up a lot by the end of the year, I think I might just hang my spurs. Because if it doesn't go up now,
please go out there
I'm
and
not
like
sure
our
when it
Facebook
will.
page. We
But
have
we're seeing real flows into Bitcoin. It's a hard asset, and we are literally,
we are trying to break
it's not just the US that's going to
by end of
monetize.
today. So we
Money doesn't
still
grow on
have
trees. And right now,
6 more
feels like
hours
we
or
crossed the
so.
Rubicon where everything everyone feels like money grows on trees. I think the guy's doing the wrong thing. It's just we're going to debase the value of fiat.
And also,
so Mike, give us a number, and if we
share
don't,
that with your friends and family,
just so we can gauge your
you.
level of expectation. Where should it reach in 6 months? And if it doesn't, as you said, you'll kind of give up on Bitcoin.
James,
I think it's a really interesting
I don't think
swing
we're getting
there.
any sound from the video.
We should have doubled. Within 6 months, we really should have. This.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
that's right. I'm sorry. I have it on mute. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
saying this.
I am seeing investors I never saw before, hedge fund investors, high net worth investors, getting into Bitcoin for the first time. And so, like I said this in a tweet, this is the year for Bitcoin. And if it doesn't go up a lot by the end of the year, I think I might just hang my spurs. Because if it doesn't go up now, I'm not sure when it will. But we're seeing real flows into Bitcoin. It's a hard asset. And we are literally, it's not just the US that's going to monetize. But, money doesn't grow on trees. And right now, it feels like we crossed the Rubicon where everyone feels like money grows on trees. I think the Fed's doing the wrong thing. It's just we're going to debase the value of fiat.
So Mike, give us a number, and if we don't, just so we can gauge your level of expectation, where should it reach in 6 months? And if it doesn't, as you said, you'll kind of give up on Bitcoin. I think it's a really interesting swing there. We
should have doubled within 6 months. We really should have. This is the time, and maybe it's within the end of the year. Retesting the old highs up to 20,000.
Woo! Retesting the old highs up to $20,000. I like it. Mike Novogratz is bullish. Well, wait a second, Mike. I've heard that everybody wants dollars. US dollars is what everybody wants. Why would anybody want Bitcoin? How do you respond to this?
Again,
Mike, the problem with your theory, sorry to cut you off, but everyone wants dollars now. I mean, there's a scramble for dollars, and we've seen the dollar rise in a period of stress. And I think it shows that, when push comes to shove, we may be monetizing and money doesn't grow on trees, but dollars are still in demand and are valuable.
That's always first reaction, right? First reaction is to get to safety. And all of a sudden, though, people are going to say, wait a minute, what are they doing to the dollar? And so that's when we come up with the next fiscal package, which will come up, I'm sure, within the next 4 months, another $2 or $3 trillion, because the first one wasn't enough. You're going to see more and more people migrate. I'm telling you, I'm seeing it as we speak. I'm getting calls from real big investors who had never thought about it before and saying, tell me about this Bitcoin. Tell me about this company coming up. And so, I added to my position today, and I've already got a decent, large position. And so that's the one big bet I have. And then on the other side,
sure,
being more agile.
Okay, so yes.
Yeah, so for those of you guys who missed it, right, basically his thought process is aligned with all of the big thinkers out there. And for those of you guys who are not familiar with who Mike is, he's actually a multi-billionaire hedge fund manager. So he has basically, built himself on being able to recognize different trends in the market and being able to set himself apart from the average Joe in order to amass his giant wealth, right? And like Jason and Gershon was saying before, we have to, if we want to get to a certain point of success, just look for, look and find those people who have already done it and just listen to what they have to say, right? And mirror what they're doing, right?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, so when I was listening to the podcast and, came across what he was talking about, it certainly interests me because I have an idea who he is. I've seen him before on different interviews and different podcasts. So I knew his background. And so when someone like that, it's just like Robert Kiyosaki. I don't know we keep saying these things over and over again, but you have to understand, these guys didn't get where they are by not being able to see what's coming down the road, right? And these are guys that's telling you, hey, based on what's going on right now with all the money printing in the US right now, and actually global, right? You have to position yourself to get out of what they call fiat currency. And when a guy like this is telling you that, hey, you know what, based on my analysis, this is a hedge fund guy. He said, look, based on my analysis on what I'm seeing, and plus all these different people calling me about Bitcoin, I easily see Bitcoin price doubling by the end of the year, at the latest, the first part of next year. And I've always said, I think 2021 is the year for Bitcoin. I really believe that. I think 2021, hitting the all-time high is going to be, I think that's going to be nothing. I can see easily Bitcoin being $50,000 in 2021.
Well, I mean, it's not only, you know, like this whole COVID-19 pandemic that supports this, but historical patterns actually supports 2021 being the year that it reaches new highs as well. So historically, the year right after the Bitcoin halving event is always the year that Bitcoin hits a new high. Pricing wise. So I do expect, you know, like Bitcoin to be hitting a new all-time high towards the end of last year as well. I have always been telling people, you know, I'm expecting by the end of next year anywhere between $30,000 to $50,000 in Bitcoin. But that was, you know, like before I saw what was happening with this COVID-19 pandemic, with the government, you know, printing trillions of dollars into the market. So right now, I feel really confident that we're going to actually hit that $30,000 to $50,000 prediction mark. And I feel like that's really conservative.
But not only is that conservative, but I think also the timeline, you can make an argument that the timeline has been moved up because the analysis was based on just traditional time frame, but with the COVID-19 and the pandemic, I think that may have pushed the timeline up. That's why a guy like that is saying, like, look, I can see Bitcoin hitting an all-time high in the next 6 months, which is in this year. So because of the COVID-19 and the pandemic, that timeline has been pushed up into this year as opposed to being next year. But I'm still going to be conservative. I do believe that we can see some really big movement this year, but I'm looking for the really, really big movement in 2021.
Yeah,
You know,
and go ahead, Jason.
You know, Gershom, I never thought of that. Actually, you're right, because, you know, when Bitcoin was created, it was, you know, created for you know, kind of like an inflationary hatching, you know, purposes, right? But I seriously doubt that the creators ever priced in or built in or thought about this type of global pandemic. So I'm very curious, and I do agree with your point that it will actually push the timeline up a little bit in a positive way, because, you know, not only the U.S. is printing out more money, you have the EU is printing out more money. You have China, the second largest economy, is printing out more money. Japan is already talking about printing more money. You have some of the largest economic, you know, bodies that are talking about quantitative easing. You know, it just this is the obvious that when everybody is printing out more money, what are we doing? We're watering down our fiat money, fiat dollars, right? It's going to make it worth less. So people are going to look for, you know, a safe haven. In my opinion, I mean, that's what I would be looking for, right? Where can I put, you know, my dollars these days? Because right now, my dollars, a dollar, when they just print out $4 more, right? It's only worth 25 cents now, or 20 cents, really, because now there are $5 out there. So I'm looking for some safe haven. I'm looking for some, you know, better vehicle, you know. So I think, you know, Bitcoin is really an obvious choice for me.
100%. You know, I just want to add to that real quick, Jason. The thing is, there's nowhere to run. There is nowhere to run. This is a global situation, right? And just like Jason says, everybody, because normally it used to be, right, when one region or one country is debasing their money, then you can run to another currency. You can run to the you know, before the euro, you can run to the Deutsche Mark of Germany, whatever. You can run to the US dollar, right? And even right now, let's be honest, right now the US dollar is still, you know, they term it like the cleanest shirt in a dirty hamper, right? It's still going to be the last to go because, you know, all these other countries, they call it a flight to safety, right? So all other countries, they're looking for a place to go. Yes, they're all going to come to the US dollar because that's going to be the last one to go. But eventually, that's going to go as well. So it's a global thing. And when that happens, there's only 3 places people have to go: gold, silver, and Bitcoin. That's it. So, you have to make sure that you position yourself in one of these alternatives. Because if you have, and I strongly believe this, if you have the bulk of your network in dollar-based assets, you're gonna feel the pain from this, right? And it's not just, we're not just saying this. If you look at the historical pattern, when a country begins to print up so much money, there is no way that they cannot debase the value of their currency. That's
Right.
just the laws of economics. And so that's going to happen. So you have to make sure that you are taking measures, you're taking steps to start to get out of those debased currency, those debased dollars, and go into an alternative.
Right. And Gershon, we as a business owner, we already kind of feel the pain already. Just about 2 years ago, or actually more than that, you have a lot of different states and U.S. governments on a federal level. It's already talking about, oh, we gotta increase our minimum wage to $15. Why is that the case? It's because all those quantitative easings that the federal government have been doing for the last 10 years. And that's really what causes it, right? I mean, if that's the case, when we have a minimum wage of $15, great. What's going to be doing to, all the other stuff? Then you're going to have, maybe a one-bedroom apartment that's going to be like $1,500 or $1,600, $1,700. I know in many other like big metropolitan like San Francisco or New York, way more than that. But in Philly, we don't see that, right? You can still get like a decent one-bedroom for maybe like $950 a month, but that's it's gonna come. Like everything's gonna go up because when you water down the dollar or the fiat money, right, by printing more, that's what's gonna happen. Your Starbucks coffee, instead of costing $5, is gonna be $7.50 one day.
So some people have a tough time, imagining how this whole process is going to play out. And, for those of you guys who aren't familiar, there are certain countries in the world where, like a loaf of bread costs $1,000 in their local currency, right? Or like in Vietnam, the smallest bill that you're going to find right now is basically a $1,000 bill.
That's the smallest bill.
That's the smallest bill in Vietnam.
And can I share a quick story, Don? I'm sorry. So, even though this is the smallest bill, I tried to go out there actually pay for something, and they won't accept my $1,000 dong, Vietnamese dong. They throw it back at me. They don't want it.
And one more thing before we're done with Coach, but one more I want to add to this real quick. When it comes to these situations, right? A lot of times people say, "Oh, I want to have time." A lot of times these things happen overnight. Before you know it, a loaf of bread, you go to the store one day, it used to be $3.50, and you go to the store one day and it's $7, and you wonder what the hell happened. These things happen overnight, so you cannot wait. And that's the thing about it. You cannot wait. You have to be proactive. You cannot wait because these things happen just like that. Go ahead, Don.
So just to piggyback off of what Jason was saying, where he no one really wants the $1,000 dong bill. Not so there's like so many panhandlers in Vietnam. When I tried to give them a $1,000 dong bill, they didn't even want it either.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's no joke.
That is crazy.
Because they know, and it was not always like that. In all of these countries that, you're paying, let's say $2,000, $20,000 for a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk, it was not always like that either. And let's say Vietnam in this example, right? It was not always the $1,000 dong that was the smallest bill. They did have, like 100s and all these different denominations too. But as the government starts to print out more money and devalues the dollar or their local currency, things just get more expensive and it becomes obsolete to carry around, let's say, $50, $100 bills in order to pay for a loaf of bread. So then, like they would just start to phase out of those smaller bills. And that's how inflation happens, guys.
Yeah, and I wanted to I like to make reference to Venezuela because it's kind of like in our hemisphere, and many people may not realize this. At one time, Venezuela was one of the richest country in the Western Hemisphere, right? And now their money is absolutely worthless. It absolutely it's worth nothing. Now I know what people always say: it could never happen here. Everyone always say that it could never happen here until it happens. And so, I just know that with what's going on with all this quantitative easing, and think about it. Now, just saying that the stimulus package, before it's all said and done, will be anywhere between $6 and $10 trillion, right? And that's only what they disclose. Imagine all the off books money printing, all the dark money that's going on, right? That we don't really know about. So yeah, you have to prepare yourself for what's coming down the road. And if you don't, then I don't know what else to tell you. I really don't.
Well, you know, Gershom, let me just kind of make two really quick points here. You never say never, right? Just about a month ago, we thought this pandemic would never come to the America.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, these are the exact words what our leaders were saying. They'll never come here. It won't be it's just going to be a flu. We're going to have zero death, zero infection very soon. What happened today? Right? Over 300,000 infections. Right? Never thought that it would come to America, and it just did. And second point, these economic issues, they're kind of like cascading effects, right? So when it happens so quickly, because when a loaf of bread starts to cost $3.50, people are going to demand higher wages, right? When higher wages come, the landlord's going to want to charge more on their rent. So it's just going to be a cascading effect that happens so quickly, you won't have time to prepare for it. So it's better to be prepared now than to kind of react to it. So be proactive and reactive.
Yeah, so right now is a very good opportunity. These type of opportunities, they come at most, like best case scenario, once every decade. Mm-hmm. And now we're at a time where there is a very, very big opportunity for you to position yourself to not only help your own, financial well-being, but also for your kids and generations to come. This is actually where true generational wealth is made. The last time was the Great Recession of 2008, 2009, where a lot of people who, I know a lot of people back then when the Dow dropped to, I believe it was like 6,000 or 7,000. I forgot where it bottomed out at, but it was pretty close to the bottom, at that point. I know a lot of people who were very scared, and I was going out there telling them, this is the time to buy. When people are running away, that's the time to buy. A lot of people thought I was crazy.
They always do, right?
Yeah, and so of course I did, buy up some stocks back then in the market, and then 6-7 years later, when the Dow rebounded and then hit new all-time highs again and started going, 10,000, 15,000, 20, 25, then all those people were like, oh, I should have bought when it was, 6,000 or 7,000 on the Dow. And usually by that time, it's too late, guys. Mm-hmm. Right now, you're living in that opportunity. So, and I feel like right now is actually a better opportunity than what it was in 2008, 2009. Today, we had a great day in the market. The Dow is, I believe, up by over 1,600 points today. Bitcoin is doing phenomenal today as well. It's up about 7% today. It's over $7,200 already. And I would say, like because it broke the $7,000 mark very convincingly, it's going to be a very easy ride to Bitcoin at $8,000. So right now is actually the best time to, start mining. Also, like pick up some Bitcoin, accumulating some Bitcoin. And, I wanted to clarify, this misconception out there. There's a lot of people that, have spoken with me and told me, hey, if you're predicting that, Bitcoin is going to shoot up to $8,000, pretty soon, why not just, buy Bitcoin and then after, it gets to $8,000 or $10,000, sell it and then buy a mining package. But then at that time, the hash power is not going to be the same either. So
Right.
everything is dynamic with the market. Right now, hash powers are pretty high compared to what our Bitcoin price is, and now is the time to lock in those higher hash powers so that you can mine more Bitcoin, and when the prices really shoot up, you already locked in a higher hash power, and you're there to benefit over the next few years, not only just benefiting over the next week.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing about it. You have to take a long-term view of whenever you get involved in any kind of investments, really, you got to take a long-term view. So I've always been an advocate for Bitcoin mining because yes, you can buy Bitcoin and get the instant gratification, but it's not going to serve you well in the long haul. I'd rather mine Bitcoin every day, so every day I get a little bit more Bitcoin, and I don't worry about the price fluctuation. So, Bitcoin goes to 8,000, 10,000, come back down to 7,000. Doesn't bother me because it doesn't matter what the price of Bitcoin is. I constantly keep mining Bitcoin every single day.
That's how I like it too, Gershom. I think that's a great point because it's all about dollar cost averaging, right? I mean, because we can never time the bottom or the height. Otherwise, we're all going to be billionaires. So, that's what I like about mining.
And also another thing is I wanted to mention to you guys, don't now is actually not the if you already have let's say 3 to 6 months or even 12 months worth of emergency funds, if you already have more than that, then now is really not the time to save up more US dollars. If you're getting a $1,200 stimulus check and you already have $100,000 in the bank, or 6 months, 12 months worth of emergency funds, now is not the time to just throw that $1,200 into your checking account or into your savings account, because that would be you doing yourself a really big disservice, because because over time that US dollars is going to depreciate. It's not going to be worth as much. But also, like I said over the past couple of weeks, right? Wealth is not judged by what your net worth is, but wealth you should really think about wealth, about the meaning of being rich, based on your cash flow. If you it doesn't matter if you have $5 million of net worth, $0 in cash flow, and every single month, let's say you have $5,000 worth of liabilities. That net worth, that $5 million, can only last you so long, basically. But if you have even if you have, let's say, $0 in net worth, but you have, let's say, $15,000 in positive cash flow, and only about $5,000 in negative, in cash outflow. That means that you're positive $10,000 every single month, basically. And in my eyes, if you can consistently keep that up over your whole lifetime, you're going to end up having a lot more than just having that fixed net worth.
So it's funny, Don. My son, who's 12, Alexander, came to me over the weekend and asked me, Dad, can you teach me about cash flow?
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
Really?
I'm like, yeah.
That's awesome.
So I said, sure. And guess where I point him to? I point him to Robert Kiyosaki. So he's watching his videos that Robert has up on YouTube to learn about cash flow. Why cash flow is so important is exactly what Don was saying, right? It is not about always, asset minus liabilities and what your equities are, right? Which is, what many people contribute that to net worth. But if that net worth is not generating you cash, how are you going to live, right? Because cash flow is what keep us going, right? It's what keeps a business going. It's what keeps us going every day because we have expenses and we need cash to pay for those expenses. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was so excited, when my son came to me and asked me to teach him about cash flow. So it's a great thing because the earlier that you learn this, the better you're going to be in managing your money when you grow up. So it's a great time.
Yeah, and I feel like just to take this a step further, right? Because there's a lot of people that says, yeah, you have to focus on generating positive cash flow. You have because that's what's going to really get you wealthy. But then it kind of stops right there, and you're left wondering, okay, I know I have to increase my cash flow now, but how do I do that? Like where should I go? What should I do? What should I learn in order to accomplish that task? And a perfect example is, like one of our VBIT mining packages, right? Let's take the diamond package, for example, where it's, it's $20,000, but that's for the full price of the package. Once you pay that, it's kind of like the same like buying a house, right? Once you fully pay off the house belongs to you. Only thing is, like you're still paying taxes on the house every single year because the government always has to get their cut. But here with the computer mining packages, you own the computers that you buy. Once it's fully paid off, there's no more monthly payments or anything like that on the purchase price of the computer. But we do have payment plans as well that offers you positive cash flow. Like it's 50% down, and then each one of these mining packages, based on the real-time stats right now, the real what the Bitcoin mining difficulty level is, and based on the price, current real-time conditions, you're mining every single month over $790, whereas like the payment for the diamond package is only $335 per month.
That's a positive cash flow right there.
Yeah, so that means that like you're positive over $450 right there. That's that's a car payment for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like with this, it's not only a one-time thing. You're getting that, like $450 positive cash flow on a monthly basis over the long term. And that's what we should really, like look for. Every time when you have, like more extra funds that you're not really using, don't throw it in a savings account. You're getting, less than 0.25% in interest. That's the national average every single year. That would take you over 100 years in order to double your money. Why would you want to do that? You're not even going to be around, or more likely than not, by the time your money doubles if you just throw it into the savings account.
Here's the way I look at it, Don. I mean, we all work so hard for our money, right? It is time for our money to work hard for us. Honestly, if you let your money sit in a cash form, whether it's in your checking account, savings account, or money market account, you are doing yourself a disservice because your money is not working for you. Your money is working for the bank, not for you, but for the bank.
But not only is your money not working for you, but not even to cut you off, Jason, but not only is your money not working for you, but you actually your money is losing value. Because even if you go by the government rate of inflation, which is like let's say 2%, right? Which I find hard to believe, but let's just take that for what it's worth, 2%. But the bank is paying you, 0.01% or 0.05%, right? So technically, your money sitting in the bank, when you factor in the rate of inflation, you're actually losing money by having your money sitting in the bank. So that's something to think about as well.
Absolutely. I mean, our monies are kind of like our muscles, right? If we don't consistently train it or work on it, it's gonna lose its strength. right? Over time.
It's not only that, right? I kind of view our money kind of like us, right? And this was what I was telling you guys before. Our money is kind of like us. When we're younger, we have, like a lot of energy. We have a lot of capability to go out there and, like do a lot of different things. But because our bodies are still young and capable, so we have all of our body, functionality. So we're younger, we're stronger, and as we age, like we grow weaker, and we're not able to do a lot of things that like we were able to when we were younger. Our money is the same way. Once we get it, at that time that we get it, it's worth so much, and it's worth like a specific amount on the day that we get it. And we should let it go out there and work for us. Because if we just leave it alone and don't let that money work for us, as that money ages with us, that money loses value. So it's kind of like us growing older and weaker, right? Do you guys feel like that's a correct analogy?
No, actually,
I think that's a very good analogy and example.
It is, and I posted something on Facebook the other day. I was reading and something, I came across this, and it says basically, every dollar that you invest basically become your worker, right? And every penny that dollar, bring you from your investment also becomes your worker. So before you know it, you have an army of workers out there working for you, right? And so that's why you should look at your money. Your money should actually become your worker and go out there and work for you. And the only way that you can get your money to work for you is by investing it. Your money is not going to work for you if you put it in the bank. Now, it's going to work for the bank, but it's not going to work for you. So if you want your money to work for you, become your worker and then generate you other workers so you can have an army of workers, you have to invest the money, invest it properly.
So I just looked it up, right? Just so that we're giving everybody correct stats. According to the U.S. government, the inflation rate is about 2.3% every single year. But yet the average interest rate for savings accounts in the U.S. is only 0.09%.
0.09.
That means that we're losing almost 2% every single year.
So if you have your money in the bank, you're actually losing money, like literally losing money, because your money is losing its value to inflation.
And that's just crazy. I don't understand why people would want to lose money. The only thing that I can think of is because people lack the knowledge and the know-how. That's why at VBIT we're trying to help everybody understand, become more well educated, and find a hassle-free way to let their money work for them and have that positive cash flow.
Well, if a phrase, or expressions, makes any sense to you guys, it's called killing me softly. Right? By holding your asset in fiat or dollars, it's like killing you softly. Like you don't even realize it over the long run.
It sounds like some lyrics from a song.
Yeah,
yes, it is. Your $100 will be worth $80, but just very slowly over the years, like you don't feel it, all of a sudden, but over time. By the time you realize, you'll be like, oh, no. It's too late.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like when I was a kid, right, and this is just an example of us not really realizing it until it occurs, right? When I was a kid, a Hershey's almond bar, just not the king size, the regular sized one, when I was growing up, it was only 30 cents per chocolate bar. Right now, if I go to the grocery store, it's anywhere between $1 to $1.50.
Yeah.
So
that's a big increase.
It has. Well, and I'm unlike Jason. I'm actually really young, so that's not like a lot of years in between.
So when you say you're young, you're telling the truth. When he says he's young, it's like I don't know.
So Don, instead of eating like the entire Hershey bar, right? Because you're getting younger now, you should only eat like maybe a quarter or 10% of it.
And that's exactly, like what my money is doing right now
Yeah.
with that same 30 cents. I'm only able to afford, like a quarter of the bar now.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And share the other three quarters with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and also another thing with what I see in the market right now, right? And some people are really wondering, okay, why did the market jump by the Dow jump by over 1,600 points today? And I just wanted to point out one of the things that I see is the European COVID-19 numbers. The number of new infections is starting to slow. It was slowing down over the weekend, so.
Mhm.
Because investors they tend to they they're positive thinkers too, right? They always want to look at any sign of hope. Basically, it might be like a little bit too early, and they might be correct. But over the weekend, the number of new infections of COVID-19 in Europe, it's starting to slow down. So I really hope that that trend continues, and I really hope that that trend starts here in the U.S. too, showing that like the number of infections have already peaked out, and we can return back to life as normal soon. But unfortunately, I don't really see that happening really soon. And the the Dow jumping by 7% today alone, that's really unheard of historically. There has not been like a single day that the Dow jumped by over 1,600 points in
Yeah,
one day.
that was huge. I saw that and I couldn't believe it. That's a big deal. But
That's a
one of the things
huge number.
yeah, it's a huge number. Go ahead, Jason.
I was saying that's a huge number, but just like last week, if you guys remember, oil were dipping for like some crazy percentages. I forgot what it was, but then one unconfirmed news that was out in the wire saying that the Russia and the Saudis, they may come to an agreement to reduce productions, right? And then all of a sudden it jumped over the weekend. But then today it went back down. So to me, this is just one of the big ways for like the wells, people that with a lot of money to try to make money in the stock market. So and that's why these stock markets is never really for me, because I don't have that kind of resources to be able to time the market or to kind of influence the market so that I can make a big killing. So that's just how I look at it, guys. Go ahead, Gresham. I'm sorry to cut you off.
I wanted to ask you something. So when you look at today's move in the market, right, it's 1,600 point move upwards. So given the current conditions, can you take that as a sign that we have bottomed, or do you think that's maybe like a dead cat bounce, or how do you process today's move in the market?
So by looking at the charts and really analyzing everything that's going on in our current environment, right? I really think that this is just a dead cat bounce. I don't think that the market has bottomed yet. I really think that it's going to bottom anywhere between 15,000 to 18,000. That's the number that I predicted initially, and I still stand by that. I still think that there is going to be another crash. Previously, like the lowest it has been so far is like 18,000 and some change, but I really think we haven't bottomed yet. Anywhere between 15 to 18,000 is going to be the bottom. And one of the reasons why is like a lot of these bounces, just like Jason was saying, is due to the big whales out there, the people who have, more influence over the market and over society. They sometimes, like for their own gain too, and we don't really know who is and who isn't, but this is just a fact of one of the market factors, right? Just think about it. Like, let's say if I'm a multi-billionaire that has 100 million people, following my Twitter or following, my every move basically, and just mirroring my everything that I say or mirroring everything, that I do. Is it too far-fetched to say that, okay, once in a while you're gonna get the urge to, say something that gives people a glimmer of hope, or tell people, okay, yes, this is the bottom, buy here, and even before you put out that buy signal, you already bought a lot of that underlying asset. Then you put out the signal immediately. When your 100 million followers buy that asset, it jumps up in price, and that's when you sell. So that you sell, and then you just pocketed a gigantic chunk of money.
Yeah.
Well, Don, quickly, I mean, that's how a lot of those trading academies, platforms, that's what they're doing. Before they send out those tips to their followers, they already have positions in place.
Mm-hmm.
And when those news or tips that come to your desk and my desk, by the time that we decide to buy it, it's already too late.
Mm-hmm. And that's why a lot of people, a lot of my friends and and people that I know always come to me asking me for my opinion about this specific trading program or that trading academy, and they say, look, they're consistently issuing good buys and all that kind of stuff. But then I tell them, think about it. You have to remember that trading and the stock market, it's a zero-sum game. For those of us who aren't familiar with what zero-sum game means, a zero-sum game basically is somebody has to lose in order for there to be a winner. Not everybody can win, right? And so what a lot of these trading academies do, or these self-proclaimed, prodigies of trading does, is they will, pick out, let's say, some random stock or some random penny stock, which is even better, right? Because they can make a lot more money on the penny stocks. So they'll pick some random penny stock, buy a bunch of it up already, because they already know that they have, 50,000, 100,000, or even 100 million followers that already paid them $40, $20, or even, whatever amount it is a month, just to, get their stock tips. And they would buy up, these stocks already, then send out the tip. And as soon as their 100 million people, buys it and goes up, they're the first ones out already. They made a large chunk of money. And the people who, bought in early out of that 100 million subscribers, there are going to be people who, buys in early before the rest of, let's say the first 1 million people that buys it are going to have a substantial gain. And the other 99 million people are going to lose their shirt off. But yet, you still have that million people who made some money, so they can also give testimonies and all that kind of stuff for these trading academies to continue running their business. But at the end of the day, I could be wrong, but I highly doubt that I'm wrong. And if there's anyone who's running one of these trading academies that can give me, confirmed stats on how many of your subscribers actually make money against how many of your subscribers actually lose money, I would say at least 95, if not more than that, % of all of these subscribers are losing money.
I actually agree with you. But I wanted to just touch on another note. One of the things that I like about what's going on right now is the fact that everyone is kind of coming together to solve this problem, this pandemic. And it's something that you don't see often. Yep. So it's good to see, everyone, is really putting their heads together, trying to figure out how we can defeat this thing. That's a good thing to see. Yes. I was reading an article earlier today, and one of your favorite car companies, Lamborghini, is actually making masks and face shields for first responders.
That's
So
awesome.
I thought it was pretty cool, for a company like Lamborghini to, actually retrofit one of their production factories to make masks and shields for frontliners. I think it's a pretty cool thing. So this was one thing I like. It's always a silver lining in what's going on. So there's a lot of bad things going on right now with the virus and the pandemic and the debasement of the money and the printing of money and all that kind of stuff. But it's good to see something like that where everyone is coming together to to try to figure out how we can defeat this pandemic right now.
For sure.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always two sides to a coin, right? There's always in every bad situation, there's a silver lining there too. And the silver lining here is where we're starting to see, the true nature of people as well. People are starting to come together, and that is really great, and that, like, I always have faith in humanity, basically, thinking that there are always going to be more good people, than bad people out there. Of course, there's like a bad apple in every bunch, but I really love it now that I'm seeing a lot of different and not only companies, but people are actually starting to work together to fight off this common enemy.
That's a good thing. I like to see that too. Absolutely.
And then like the other silver lining is this is such a great opportunity to set yourself up for success in the future.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I know I sound like a broken record. I know that, I've been saying the same thing over and over again for the last few weeks, but in reality, everything that I'm talking about, guys, everything that I'm saying to you, I'm actually practicing too. So when I told you, like Bitcoin's going to rebound and I see, like a V-shaped recovery, I did, put a lot of my own money into, getting more hash power as well as buying, Bitcoin, among, other things. And it's starting to pay off.
Yeah, it's paying off for me too, because I'm following your lead. Whatever you do, I do.
Same here. So thank you for the tips.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to give you guys a heads up too. Right now, we're kind of like in that sweet spot, right? Where we already, Bitcoin's already over $7,000. We're in that sweet spot where we know that, it's not, it kind of like bottomed out and it's not dropping to 1,000 or 500 or whatever crazy number all those naysayers were saying, or even zero, right? Whatever crazy number it was. So we're in that sweet spot where we know that, Bitcoin's going to be here. It's performing extremely well. And then the hash power on our mining packages are higher than what it used to be too. So you end up mining more Bitcoin, you're making more money, more positive cash flow every single month too. So use this sweet spot as the perfect time to go out there, buy more mining packages, get your friends and families involved, because, just like you, they could be making money while they sleep too. Don't wait until Bitcoin price goes to 8,000 to 9,000 to 10,000 when we're going to have to decrease the mining hash power.
Yes, this is the time, guys. So towards the end of this year, going into next year, I think the price of Bitcoin at that time is going to blow your mind. But the thing is, you don't want to wait until Bitcoin is, 16,000, 18,000, 20,000 to get involved in, as far as especially Bitcoin mining.
Just like in my example before, right, where you're running in the trading academy, there's always going to be some people who make money and a lot of people who lose money. You always have to be the first one. You don't wait until Bitcoin price goes back up to 20,000.
You got to get in now. You got to get in when when the price is at this level. But unfortunately, a lot of people just, I don't know, what is it with human nature? It's like they buy high and sell low. I could never understand that. So doesn't matter how much we sit here and preach to people, like, listen, now is the time to get involved, to get your position, get involved right now so you can maximize your potential gain. So hopefully you guys are, listening and taking heed and, finding out how to get involved with Bitcoin. You can definitely reach out to us. We can not only educate you on Bitcoin and what it does and how it functions, but actually set you up to where you can benefit from the Bitcoin when the price of Bitcoin, start moving, because Bitcoin was created to hedge against these situations, crisis, currency crisis and currency devaluation and stuff like that. So now is the time to get involved, and if you want to get involved, then reach out to us. We can definitely help you with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just to wrap off this podcast, right, because I know we're running a little long today. I just wanted to point out that I do see, news articles and reports saying that, over the next 2 weeks, we could be seeing the peak of COVID-19, new infections here in the U.S. So it is very important over the next 2 weeks. It's going to be crucial for all of us to help each other just by staying home and self-isolating. I know you guys, are watching our podcast and saying, "Oh, do you keep on preaching, social distancing when you're just sitting like about 2 feet next to the other guy?" But for us, right, we actually do practice social distancing. We practice it like religion, right? So Gershom, outside of the people that he sees here in the office, he doesn't really go out. He doesn't see anybody else, and that goes the same for myself as well. So we know that we're kind of safe together, but with other people that we're not so sure of where they have been and stuff like that, we stay at least 6 feet away.
I come to the office, I eat here in the office, and I go home, and that's it.
Yeah, and I can attest to that, because every day I have to bring in lunch for Gershom to eat.
But that's actually a great practice. I mean, thank you guys for doing that, because you guys, as well as our Viva support team and our development teams are such an important integral part of the company. So we can't afford to have you guys not practicing that will get sick. So thank you for what you guys are doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just to wrap it up, over the next couple of weeks, guys, it's very, very crucial. So, and you're going to see over the next 2 weeks a rising number of new infections and a rising number of additional deaths. Please don't become a part of the statistic. Mm-hmm. Self-isolate yourself. Don't go outside if it's not necessary. Obviously, there are going to be certain times where you have to go out and get food and stuff like that, but please be mindful and stay at least 6 feet away from everybody.
Wash your hands and increase your vitamin C. Vitamin C, guys. Lots of it.
And wear your mask if you absolutely have to be out. Even if you can only get your hands on, a regular cotton or cloth mask, wear it. It will help.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you for joining us this afternoon. And I'm sorry?
Is there any questions? No.
I don't see any questions on Facebook. So James, are there any questions on YouTube? Okay, awesome. So I guess, today we did such a great job explaining everything. Everybody understood exactly what we said, and they don't need to ask any questions.
Nice.
All right, so thank you for joining us. Yeah, this afternoon. Enjoy your dinner and stay safe, guys, until next time. Thank you.
And please don't forget to like our Facebook page. Thank you.
Yes, like, hearts, and